All right, let's dive into one of those JavaScript mysteries that I swear trips up everyone at some point, even the most seasoned developers.
I mean, think about it. You've probably been there, right? You pass an object to a function, and suddenly it's been changed somewhere else in your code. But then you do the same thing with a number, and it works exactly like you'd expect. What's going on there? Well, that's the puzzle we're going to solve right now.
Yeah, that feeling of unpredictability, it's a classic hurdle in JavaScript. But here's the good news. It's not random. It's actually all about one single fundamental concept. And once you get this, your code is going to start behaving exactly the way you want it to. And this is the key. What are primitive and non-primitive data types? This isn't just some random trivia, you guys. This is a core interview question. It's one of those things that really shows an interviewer you know your stuff, that you get how JavaScript really works. And by the time we're done here, you are going to nail this question.
Okay, so here's the big secret. It's actually super simple. JavaScript basically splits all its data types into just two big groups, primitive and non-primitive. And understanding the difference between these two, that's everything.
So first up, let's talk about primitives. The easiest way to think about them is like they're the Lego bricks of your data. They're simple, they're basic, and this is the most important part, they are immutable. Now, immutable is a fancy word, but all it means is that once you create a primitive value, it can't be changed, ever.
And these are probably all familiar to you, right? We're talking about numbers, strings, booleans, your true and false, plus the special ones like null and undefined. And of course, the newer kids on the block, symbol and bigint. These are your solid, unchanging building blocks.
All right, so on the flip side, we have non-primitive types. And really, this just means one thing, objects. And as you know, in JavaScript, pretty much everything is an object. Arrays, functions, you name it. Now, the key difference here is that these guys are mutable. You can change them. And they don't hold the data itself. Instead, they just hold a reference, kind of like an address that points to where the actual data lives in memory.
This little table here really nails the difference. So primitives are copied by value. The best analogy for this is making a photocopy. You get a brand new separate copy, but non-primitives, they're passed by reference. Think of this like sharing a link to a Google Doc. You're not sending a copy, you're sending a link to the one and only original. And that one little difference, that's where all the magic and confusion comes from.
Okay, enough theory. Theory is great, but let's see how this actually works in the code. Because this is where you're going to have that aha moment. This is where it all clicks.
All right, let's start with a simple primitive. We've got a variable x, and we set it to 10. Super simple. Then, we make a new variable, y, and we assign x to it. Now, right here, this is the important part. Because 10 is a primitive, JavaScript makes a brand new, completely separate copy of the number 10 and hands it to y. So now, if we change y to 20, what do you think x is going to be?
It's still 10, exactly. Changing y did absolutely nothing to x. Why? Because y got its own photocopy of the value. They're two totally separate things. Makes sense, right? Pretty straightforward.
Okay, now for the fun part. Let's try the same thing with a non-primitive, an object. We create object 1 with a name property. Then we create object 2 and set it equal to object 1. But here's the twist. JavaScript does not make a copy of the object. No way. Instead, it just gives object 2 the memory address, that reference, that link, to the exact same object that object 1 is pointing to. So, when we go and change the name using object 2, what do you think is going to happen to object 1?
Yep, the output is Ali. And this is that pass by reference concept in full effect. Since both object 1 and object 2 were just pointers to this single, same object, changing it through one variable means you're changing it for both. They're just two different names for the exact same thing.
So, what's the big deal? Why have we been going on about this? Well, because this isn't just some abstract concept. Understanding this is absolutely crucial for writing good code. And, let's be real, for acing those technical interviews.
First off, this knowledge helps you kill those weird bugs. You know, the ones where data just magically changes somewhere in your app and you have no idea why. It also means you can write functions that are totally predictable. And finally, it's a huge green flag for interviewers. It just screams, this person gets it. They understand how JavaScript really works.
So now that you've got this down, take a second and think about your own projects. Which one are you using more often? Are you mostly working with those solid, predictable primitives, or are you deep in the world of objects, managing all those shared references? There's no right or wrong answer, but it's pretty interesting to think about. I'd love to hear what you think.